listening to the Outdoor Drive Podcast.
That you are. When it is episode 178. I know we always say it, but you probably already read the cover art and the title to know that it is 178. But I like to just reassure that you guys all know that you're in the right place and you're watching or listening to the right number podcast that you are looking for. Does that make any sense? I guess it does. Well, this is your boy East Coast Trev, and I'm joined by my good buddy, Mr. Madman Mardik.
Oh, sorry. That was
wrong
wrong episode.
What are you doing with that thing?
Nor'easter game call.
What?
I just got off the phone with Mark. We've been working on some shit.
What are you working on?
Secret.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'll tell you,
Mark's got a lot going on right now.
You want to talk about secret? Bro, so the new logo is now released, right? And everybody knows that the new logo is released. But I'll tell you this, is that we've now got them on pot calls. Mm-hmm. And so you guys can take all of your old pot calls and you can throw them in the garbage.
No. Put them on the shelf. Nostalgia.
Oh, nostalgia.
That might be worth something someday.
You were using for skeet shooting.
No. Why? You got to put them on the... You got to keep them.
They might be worth something?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, the OG logo.
Yeah. I mean, we bring back the vintage, you say?
Right, exactly. Vintage.
Oh.
Vintage outdoor
10
drive.
years down the road when we're old and gray?
Yeah. Yeah, don't get rid of the old ones. Just buy new ones.
Oh. Well, we got new ones. We're working on new ones.
Yeah, they're
they are
amazing.
fire.
Yeah.
You guys will love to see them. Mark's been killing it up there. We got him, and not even that, but we're so excited about the new logo that we have a new pot call coming out called the Windbreaker. I ran it all last season, designed with Mark. Amazing call, and it's great for that windy day that we get in spring, because last spring was windy as hell, and it was tough, and you needed something to get out there and strike off them birds. So we struck them off with this Windbreaker, and it's aluminum body. Aluminum top over glass, and the thing screams. The noises it makes, the pitch. I mean, you guys all know, all you turkey hunters, that pitch is what kills. I mean, that change in the tone and the pitch is what kills turkey. So we went ahead and we made one. Mm-hmm. The mouth calls they're getting worked on. There's just a lot of stuff, and Mark is knocking it out of the park.
Yep. We're working on a little some coyote call prototypes that we're getting dialed in here soon. That's what I was talking to Mark about.
Is those?
Yeah, they're close. They're real close. They're just not ready for market yet, but we're getting it dialed in.
That's good. That's really good. Well, guys, you guys are back on the podcast. This episode is with Mr. Seth from the Outdoor Drive. We wanted to tear into who we actually were and what we had going on, because we had the group chat with the whole group in studio when we had released the fact that we were going to be the Outdoor Drive instead of the Outdoor Drive podcast. And they literally, I wanted you guys to know exactly who they are. So we took Seth on board. But before we get to that, I think Mardik has something to say about the Killer's Corner. We've been neglecting it here for a couple weeks because things have been a little hectic.
Very hectic.
To say the least. So we're gonna let Madman Mardik get into the Killer's Corner.
So this is the last of it. This is everything I got. So if I missed you, reach out to me and tell me I forgot you. But this is just left over from the end of last year. So we got Mike Thibodeau, great season with a bear and a buck. Michael Ibsen,
yeah.
He had a hell of a season. Tagged out with his bow and a nice buck with
a Connecticut
with the rifle. Yep. David Cook with the coyote. Keep those coming.
I want to take a pause real quick because David Cook, you guys, I want to thank him for his service. He went overseas and was overseas for quite some time, and then came home for hunting season and was able to make it home. He was gone. I think he missed an entire season. But thank you for your service, honestly, David. And now you're killing it. Him and his boy shot that moose, and then the buck, and then now he's killing coyotes.
Yep. Thank you for that, David. Thanks for the post. Tom Aglio with the coyote. Buddy the elf. Buddy Guthier.
Buddy the elf.
He's going to hate me when he hears that.
Listen, he is no elf. I can promise you that. But go ahead.
Buddy the ogre. Tagged out with the bow. My man Jackson Hardesty tagged out with the bow. Josh McGowan with a Georgia hammer. Showing Mr. Higgins up. I love that. Sean Russell with a big late season Maryland Brute. We got Morgan Perkins running them Squirrel Dogs. Corey Smith, good week with a shed, fish, and ducks.
Ooh.
Edward Stan.
An outdoor drive slam.
How do you say Edwin's last name? I don't want to butcher that.
Stinky.
That's what I thought, but I didn't want to say
I don't
it
know.
wrong.
I'm
Sorry,
horrible with
Edwin,
names, man.
Yeah. Iowa Public Land buck, which was a great buck.
That was a cool little story. I'm hoping to have him on the podcast and talk about that because that's a...
No, I already reached out to him.
Yeah. Because I think that we'll get him on the drive.
We're definitely going to get him on there.
I mean, on the tails.
Yeah. Another Morgan Perkins with the squirrel dog. How's the squirrel competition coming?
Oh, man. It's coming along, dude. We got a pile of entries, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not going to run through the list or nothing, but right now, holding top, my man Joshua Earl and the pup, they're at 18, 26-inch red. I think that's the biggest right now as far as that. I think
with a commanding lead, too.
With a commanding lead. Josh Rakowski is right behind him with 15. So those guys are kind of going neck and neck. Edwin said he's going to hit it hard. He was away on business, and he's coming back home, so he's in third place right now. And there's a bunch of 2s and 3s, some really good ones. I think the biggest gray right now, I think, is 24 inches, I think is what I'm seeing.
Solid.
That is a solid one. Ooh, I missed this one. Oh, no, that's 25 and a quarter. Yeah, so you got Joseph. He's got 18 with a 26-inch red, so he's going to probably take 2 places if he doesn't get knocked out. But there's some good stuff going on, man. Not as many people that normally get in on the scroll competition, but there's a good number of guys that are getting out there and doing it. So we're excited for that, man.
Awesome.
Some good squirrel competition for sure.
Love that. And then I got one more for the Killer's Corner, and that is Mr. Manish with a pink-footed goose.
Ooh, Mr. Manny.
Speaking of Manny.
Yeah, him and Gerard.
Check in with him.
Oh, I hear him.
Oi, you! Yeah, you! Put down that mug of Joe and get your lips wrapped round one of these bad boys. That's right. Nor'easter Game Calls. Give it a blow. Nor'easter Game Calls. Get 'em in close.
This winter, use Huntworth's Heat Boost products for impeccably warm body parts, guaranteed. Get more for less with Huntworth.
Vital Ground Outdoors. For all your climbing hardware needs. Amstel Mobile Hunting redefined with Vital Ground Outdoors. New Era Archery, home of the Zeus Broadheads as well as the Hera. Let the Zeus loose with New Era Archery. I would just like to thank our generous sponsors. Back over to you, Trevor.
My man, Manny. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Appreciate all that you do for the podcast, and stay out there killing it. I know you did a little bit of deer hunting too, and
that reminds me. Do you know why they say British?
No,
because we dumped the tea in the harbor.
Oh, Jesus! You always go with the tea in the harbor every time.
British. They never say the tea.
Oh, that's
they
true.
Skip the tea.
Yeah,
British.
They got to get rid of the tea.
Because we got rid of that shit.
Yeah, that's right. That's all that matters, man.
Love you, Manny.
Well, guys, let's get on over to Seth. We get into some really cool stuff. So
yeah,
let's.
This is a really good bullshit session.
And you guys will hear a lot more from them. We're getting ready for the shows. We got Harrisburg, we got Springfield, and we got Mohegan Sun.
Yeah, and the other thing too, because this comes out Thursday, me and Trev might take a run up to New York Sportsman Expo.
Yes,
on Saturday. So if
you're the running show,
it's in Syracuse. So if anybody's listening and they're going to be there Saturday, reach out to us because we might be around. We don't have a booth or anything. We're just going to go check it out.
We're going to go check it out, shake hands, and kiss babies.
Yep.
So we'll be there and we'll be bouncing around. But let's get our man Seth on the line, dude, and let's get this podcast underway.
Cool.
Booyah. What up, man?
What's going on, boys?
You guys kind of know them. We had the group podcast, and Seth was part of that, but we decided that we were going to tear down the crew and kind of get everybody to kind of dig in and know who everybody is. So we had Seth join us for the first one on this one, dude. What's going on?
Another day, man. I'm already ready for next year's season. This one hasn't even finished yet.
Yeah, I know. Well, you get lucky because you have crop damage and all that other really good stuff.
Well, Rhode Island goes to the 31st of January.
Oh, that's right. So
you guys you're still in your regular season.
Yeah.
Yep. And then my crop damage picks back up in April.
So is it archery in January or?
Archery only in
Yeah,
January. Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Yep.
That's absolutely nuts. So is there a lot of bucks that are like shed out and you're still hunting them, so you have a lot more chance of shooting a shed out
I've
buck?
made the mistake. I have made the mistake before, which is I hate that. I hate it. So I try to keep it nice and close. I mean, usually I'm waterfowl only at the end of January. By this time. But if I need more meat in the freezer, obviously I'll still bow hunt as long as I can. But it happens. Like I said, my area, dude, the bucks are still holding. Like I just saw a buck chasing a doe the other day, literally 2 days ago.
Well, the good thing is it's being archery only. At least it's a little close quarters, so it's a little easier to tell than 100 yards with the rifle or something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, once I made the mistake a couple times, and I thought it was a doe, like last light or whatever, and all of a sudden you see little stubs. You know what I mean? You can usually tell if it's a big buck that already shed, but I still hate to do it, not knowing, But you make that mistake once or twice, and you learn to identify pretty well.
Well, man, why don't we turn this key, dude? Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
All right. I am from a small town, Tiverton, Rhode Island. Probably I think it's the smallest town in the state. Definitely the smallest town in the state and one of the smallest in the country. But we got some big deer here and a lot of farmland. I got a little girl. I work for a power company. Blue collar, man. It's hunting, fishing. If you're not working, doing the family thing, that's it. There's no other option. It's outdoors 24/7, 365.
I think, and I'm not to kind of knock anybody else on the team, but in all reality, I think that you're the guy that spends the most time in the outdoors out of everybody, dude. It's actually kind of crazy to me.
No doubt about it. I could put a year's salary on it, dude. I love it's even with my 4-year-old, dude. Like it's.
Oh, she's a little savage too, though.
Savage.
Bro, she loves it right now. I hope she stays that way. But I didn't give her much of a choice, dude. I was doing outdoor checking cameras, baiting for coyotes, dude. Like shed hunting with her on my back since she was old enough to be out of the house and all bundled up. You know what I mean? So this is all she knows. She knows this life. She was fishing in the baby carriage, dude. We were pushing that stroller all the way to trout ponds and stuff. So it's definitely a lot, but having a kid is no excuse. You know what I mean? Not for me. I just changes how I do it, and that's it. Saturday, Sunday, after work, it doesn't matter.
So where did it start for you? Did you grow up in a household that was like that had that full outdoors experience?
Yes. So my father and grandfather were in that life as long as I can remember. My grandfather's been hunting his whole life, and dude, he's traveled the country. He's every big game animal in North America for the most part. I think elk was the only one he hasn't killed and put on his wall. But he's everything. I mean, sheep, mountain lion with a bow, everything. So that was his life. And then my father, he got my father into it, obviously. And then I was born into that, and it was a very smooth transition for me. You know what I mean? I was killing squirrels by the time I could walk.
So you're used to that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that where you got your whole, because you're like the gear guru of the group also, which you're always into gear and trying new things and stuff. You got that from your grandfather, obviously. I know, we know the truth behind it, but your grandfather is the same exact way that you are with gear and different things.
Oh, dude, he might be worse.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I mean, there's nothing that I can bring him that's new in the industry that he can't rebuttal with. Oh, I've got one of those. Let's go in the basement. And it's the same thing, just different from 30 years ago.
That's awesome.
He has, he built this house and his basement is his hunting oasis. He's got, a whole game room. He's got the broadheads on the wall. Like he's a collector of broadheads. So he's got an entire wall, custom made shelves, the whole nine of every broadhead that's ever come out, fish heads, trad heads, mechanicals, fixed, you name it. And every trinket that's ever come out in the hunting industry, I mean, I swear to God, he has it. I definitely know where I get it from. That's for sure.
And is that, I'd imagine that's probably where you kind of dove into it and got to see all that stuff. So you're kind of fascinated with it and then just kept it going.
Oh yeah. To be honest, there was no I'm gonna decide to be into it. Like from day one, I was always like, all right, what's the new thing? Like it was bred into me. That for sure. That's definitely where I got it from. I mean, I'm definitely fortunate to be able to to come up in that life. So I had people to look at and learn from, and give me the tools of the trade. It's not like I had to wing it on my own. You know what I mean? Which there's definitely a lot to be said about guys that do that, but I think I'm definitely fortunate to be able to just boom. I'm born into it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they were hell of a role models too. And my grandfather's he's sick with it just like I am. So every season, every species that was available, he taught me and showed me, and off to the races it went. So I definitely got my gear obsession from him too. And dude, he's 76 years old and he's still killing deer and still YouTubing trinkets and the new gear. And dude, he just bought a red dot for his shotgun and
Oh yeah,
dude, he's still not slowing down.
What's Grandpa's opinion on the butt out? That thing's popping up all over the place again. Have you seen that?
No.
The butt, you know what the butt out is?
Yeah, the butt
all
plug.
of a sudden, I haven't thought of that thing in 10 years. All of a sudden, it's all over social media again.
The butt plug.
Yeah.
His opinion is be a man. Be a man, use a knife.
I feel like that's what everybody's opinion on that thing was.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think I've ever even
if it gets
used
you
one.
out there doing it, if it gets you out there doing it, by all means, go ahead.
Absolutely.
But you carry a knife,
I don't even think I've ever
some things
even
that I
used one of those things, bro. I
I've
don't
used
even
one.
know how to use those things.
I've used one.
I've seen it. I picked it up in the store.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's like, they're making this just for stupid people to buy them,
That's so dumb, dude. I don't know. It's not. That's one of those trinkets. Do you think that there's other trinkets out there that are in the industry of things that you've probably they came up with?
The buck cruncher.
What is it?
Do you remember the thing that made the noise that sounded? It was supposed to sound like deer eating acorns. It was a call.
Oh.
What was it called?
I've never heard of that.
The acorn.
I've never heard of that.
The acorn cruncher.
Now I gotta buy it.
That's like, you know what? The other thing that was like that we used to do
what was that thing called?
the tree thrasher.
I never had one of those, but
You ever seen that? The tree thrasher?
No.
Dude, so this thing is actually pretty cool. So it's a small little gadget, right? And it's got two plastic sides. One of it has like forks on one side, and then I don't know how to explain it, like a scrunchy type thing.
Almost like a dryer vent hose, but plastic.
And it had like inside of it was like, like the kids thing that goes like ruffled up paper thing, and it was inside of it, and you would take it and you would like thrash it together like deer walking making that full circle when you're calling like aggressively during
like rattling. You could,
rattling.
Scrape the tree, and then thrash
the leaves around. And I'll tell you,
they make everything.
Well, so it's not that it was all that bad, right? It wasn't one of those gadgets that like you wouldn't use all the time, but to make the full circle and the understanding of how that actually works when you are calling deer, it actually works out really well, because you hear a lot of stories of guys that would carry around paper bags with they would put leaves in them and crush them around, or they'd have Ziplocs and they would put them. The other thing is
put
a lot of guys
antlers on the ground on the rope.
The antlers on the ground.
Yeah.
The other thing is, one of the guys that I know is kind of like my mentor. If he ever heard this, he would kill me. But he would actually, in his rut sets, he would set up a tree stand, like a ladder stand, and he would put a pulley on it, and then he would put cinder blocks on the ground, and it was like them stomping, and he would put them into like boughs on the ground, so it would like smash on the ground, so he would rattle, and then he would smash it on the ground and make a full circle. So I think that tree thrasher wasn't all that far off of what it actually was. It's just that it's just something that if you're not into that, you would not.
I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is how much shit do you really want to carry with you?
Well, that's truth.
If you have it with you, it works. But is it worth bringing with you on every set?
The thing with the tree thrasher is kind of small, so it was a little bit bigger than a skull can. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it wasn't all that big, and it would kind of crunch down. But it's funny
about the game tracker.
The game tracker.
With the line that you should connect to the arrows, you can follow the string to your kill. Bro.
They're always coming out with new and innovative things, because like DSC last year, they came out with like a broadhead that has a tracker on it. Bro, that thing had to been like 6 inches.
The Bluetooth?
Will they make a no? This one's not Bluetooth. It was actually, it's made on like a sonar radar type thing, like a metal detector, and you would like hold this like piece, like this like, I don't know, like a phone type thing, and you would track it down with that, so that it was like not magnetic. Like if you were overseas, that because they don't really have a lot of like service and stuff, I guess. So like. You'd have to use something different. Dude, that thing was like, it was probably like 600 grains up front.
Does it come off in the animal?
So what happens is it's like, so it's like you have your broadhead, right?
Yeah.
And your broadhead screws into the front. And then like behind that is this frigging thing that attaches to your arrow. And then it has like a barb hook thing that sits inside of this like tube. And then when you shoot, it comes out and it tags into it.
You still get your pass through. But it leaves that
behind. It leaves it in, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, dude, it's just wild. Like, why? I just don't understand. You have to, like, tune to it like crazy. Like, I don't know.
Imagine that. You're right.
I don't know why you would ever want that. Like, that's just like one of those things.
I wish I could tag a couple bucks in the summertime.
Yeah, just see where they show up to, right? Yeah.
So I can find them in the fall.
What do you is there other gadgets that you've used that are like, you're like, dude, like, why did I ever use that thing? Like, what? I'm trying to think of it. Because, like, you're into that stuff, bro. Like, you just have a ton of everything.
I've tried about every release imaginable. And my grandfather's got one of everything, dude. I had this one that's like, and I killed the deer with it, too, with this old Buckmaster Jennings compound bow. That's what I started shooting with. I started with trad. And then as soon as I could pull the weight, the 70 pounds, that's what I started hunting with. And it was like this little hand. It's just like a handheld release now, except, dude, it was rope. It was rope and like a pulley. So, like, dude, imagine shooting a compound bow with a rope and a pulley, dude.
What?
It worked, but think about the delay. You know what I mean? Dude, it was like shooting a muzzle loader with a delay, dude. You know what I mean? Like, click, poof. So I would release and have to hold, and then by the time the string went, there was a short. It was like, dude, it was pretty wild.
Actually, that would keep your concentration because it's like the same thing as if you at full draw and your buddy comes up and punches it. You know, like you ever done that to like see like you have your friend like hit it for you, so you're not paying attention, but you're on. So it'd be kind of like the same thing. I mean,
or they have the electric releases where you hit the button and it goes off on its own. It could be like 0 to 5 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can't even throw that thing far away from me. That's terrible.
That is terrible, man. That's like, why would you do that?
It's more of a competition thing, like 3D and target.
I draw the line at trinkets with batteries and electronics. I try to keep it. That stuff. To me, there's a line in the wood where you bring things to the woods. You know what I mean? Like I had the ozone thing the ozone generator, the ozonics. Yeah. I've done all that. But as far as like lighted sights and computerized like the Garmin, dude, I'm not about it. I think that's too much. Yeah,
the Garmin's insane. I've shot it, dude. Insane.
I know everybody I know that has one loves it.
Mm-hmm.
I try to draw the line at the batteries and the computer systems. You know what I mean? Like I want it. You're in the woods, dude. You're being primal. Like you start bringing the more computers you bring. It's starting to change the game. You know what I mean?
Well, it's bad enough that we have to carry camera gear constantly, so then you have to worry about more things on top of your camera gear.
More batteries, and what if the battery dies? Mm-hmm. I'm all set. I'm all the power to you. If you can afford that thing and you want to run it, man, I hear nothing but good things. Do it. For me personally, I try to keep the technology to a minimum.
Well, you're not a technology kind of guy anyways.
No, sir, I'm not.
The same dude. We told him today. I was talking to him on the phone, and I said, "Yo, you ready to go to an iPhone?" He's like, "No, I'm not ready to go to iPhone. They can't switch over all my pictures." I said, "Bro, why don't you just have one of us down them to a flash drive so you don't have to worry about it?" He's like, "Nah, just stay with Android forever." I was like, "Okay, more power to you, bub. Whatever he takes."
Seth's screwing up the group chat. We can't change the name of the group chat. We can't. We got to see everyone's text in green.
You know what?
Bullshit.
At least I can invite a collaborator on Instagram.
Good call.
Boom.
Good call. What a dig. Some of you guys don't know, it's kind of an inside group. So Tyler Tyler can't seem to figure out. He's like the most techie of all of us too, right?
Mr. Instagram himself.
Yeah, and TikTok, Mr. TikTok. And he literally cannot invite a collaborator to put it on both Instagrams, ours and his. Like, yo, like.
In his defense, dude, I couldn't figure out on my girl's phone either. I don't know what the deal is, but
Yeah. Well,
I think it's awesome because you guys are always hating on my Samsung, and I'm like, yes.
The funniest thing with that whole collaborator thing is I had posted believe it or not, a tree stand selfie. I do not do those, but I did one this fall for Huntworth, and I'm scrolling around the tree stand posting it, and Trev texts me later. He's like, "How did you do that?" And I'm like, "Do what?" He's like, "Dude, somehow you got it on your personal page and the outdoor drive page." And I'm like, dude, I have no idea how I did that.
We had to go back and try and figure it out.
Hitting buttons and stuff, so we had to like back engineer it to figure out how the hell I did it in the first place.
But I think it's so perfect.
Isn't it wild? Here we are, like, dude, hunting, fishing. It's as primitive as it can get, right? Well, to a point. And like we're kind of going back in time, and then like all this technology is also like. So we're chasing the technology with the filming and the Instagram and all this, algorithms and all these videos and whatnot. And the same token, we're chasing the technology to chase animals in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the two-sided coin. It's kind of crazy.
The craziest thing about it, right? And we do a ton of talking about it, is that the hunting industry as a whole is so far behind every other industry. Like if you had basketball or you had golf or whatever, like technology wise, like the hunting industry itself is like 35 steps behind any other industry in the world. Like it's like, all the things will come out. Like think about it, right? So like these things will come out and you'll be like, oh, that's so cool. But like in all reality, another industry has already been doing that for 1,000 fucking years. Like, dude, like
it's a lot smaller niche of people. We get that stuff last.
Mm-hmm. And it's just business wise too. Like they're just like they're so far behind everything, which is fine because we like to stay in that primitive era. Like it's okay, but it's just crazy to me. But like you said, we're chasing fucking animals while we're chasing that, so it makes it that way.
Well, it goes back to what we were saying before about all the little trinkets and stuff like that the industry makes you feel like you need. But at the end of the day, like my checklist, like before I go out hunting, my checklist is what do I absolutely, all right, as long as I have my bow, my arrows, my release, okay, I can kill something.
Yeah.
I can forget my rangefinder and be okay. I can forget this, I can forget that. I can still get it done. Everything else is just extra shit at the end of the day.
The thing too, well, like when you do forget your release, it's a miserable thing, but it's good thing. What is the good thing for us? Like all the three of us here is that we started hunting a long time ago when you had to guess. When you had to use
rangefinder,
your yardage.
You said release, but
release. I'm sorry.
I thought you were gonna go with fingers.
Yeah. Oh, I meant rangefinder. Yeah, but no, we've all shot fingers also. But we know that when you shoot fingers, your anchor point is going to be a little bit different. So it's actually
right. Well, how about this? We all started hunting before trail cameras.
Yes.
We all know how to kill deer without a trail camera. We use them. They're great. They're awesome. I couldn't imagine not using them. I love using them.
I was going to say, how do you feel about the states that are banning them?
On public land, I wouldn't have a problem with it at all.
No.
But let me just finish the thought I was going to say. There's a generation of kids right now that don't know what it's like to not hunt without a camera. As long as they've been hunting, cameras have been a thing.
So when they take it away, like Seth is saying, they're going to have a tough time, so they're against it. Where I'm not against it, because in all reality, dude, we are all woodsmen, where we've built our hunting career on being a woodsman and not having to use that type of technology. Like I could hunt, like we hunt in other states all the time. You did a travel hunt out in Tennessee and you didn't use like you didn't have a year's worth of electronic base backing to know what was going on. What do? You go out there, maybe you put a trail camera out there, but you're using your woodsmanship that you learned from years ago to put yourself into sign, and then using your technology to just ensure that that's where it is, right? I mean,
right. So we all killed deer there. We all brought one camera with us. we did the map scouting, the whole nine. We got there, boots on the ground, and what we used the cameras for were to be in somewhere we weren't.
Right.
Which is a luxury in itself. You know what I mean? We're spoiled because of that. You have two sets of eyes now. You know what I mean? So I sat where I thought the best possible opportunity was going to be, and I put the camera somewhere that was, it was good, but it wasn't as good as where I wanted to sit. So I put the camera there to be another set of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting the buck that Louis shot on camera.
Oh, really?
Yep. And we were like 2 ridges apart from each other, 2 or 3 ridges apart, and which is pretty cool. Now it kind of like wraps up the story a little bit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, I'm totally not against going out there early, putting up cameras. You know what I mean? If you're gonna put the work in, use whatever tools and assets you have available. Go for it. But if they were to say tomorrow, listen, cameras on public, no more.
Yeah.
I'd have no issue with it because now we're all at a level playing field.
Yeah, I'd actually prefer it because I feel like more problems come with cameras than anything because one, we talk about people getting possessive over deer, and that usually comes from trail cameras, but people get possessive over their spots. Like, oh, well, I've had a camera here since April. Well, I don't care. I scouted the spot in January. The sign was already here. I don't need a camera here to tell you what's going on here. Like I know when I scouted in January, I can come back in November and hunt. I didn't need a camera there.
Right.
And people, just because people slap up a camera, all of a sudden they think it's their spot.
So they're getting possessive of that spot.
Right.
And I think that, so getting rid of them, I'm okay with that. When you're travel hunting and stuff like that, if I didn't have to have a camera, I'd be okay with not having a camera.
Yeah.
I would be totally fine without not having a camera. And you use them, like you said, you use them to put them in places that you're not going to be. So if I'm going to hunt section A and that's my hunting spot, I'm going to put it in section B so that I know that if a buck is running in that area, that I can then go there and try and hunt that buck because he's daylighting. You know what I'm saying? Because you're hunting in that November, late October, November time frame where if that buck ends up daylighting on Tuesday, I know that I probably have a day or two where he's going to daylight again in that same area. You know what I'm saying? So I can try and get to him. At least you put yourself in that advantage. But if I didn't have that, I'd be okay with it. Right. I would just hunt different. I just hunt a little bit different.
In the same token, how much more of a stress do the cameras add?
A lot. They add a lot because now you're putting more pressure on yourself to try and get at those deer.
Or they're making the decision on where to sit. Instead of waking up in the morning and be like, all right, the wind's northwest today. I have this and this option. I have A stand or B stand. Now you're like, oh, yeah, but I got a deer over here yesterday at night, or there was a buck over here at 3 a.m. yesterday. And you know what I mean? It just adds so much to the whole hunting thing that I would be okay if they did away with it.
Yeah.
I think I would.
I think it takes away.
You've struggled with that a little bit in the past. I've chasing deer and being a day late everywhere, and then going to the next spot because of the camera, and always feeling like you were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Exactly.
I blew an entire season because of that. Like I'm not gonna lie, I blew an entire season chasing cameras.
I have to.
Chasing cameras because you're like, well, I can't go to that. I can't go to this spot because that spot hasn't had any deer on camera or the buck that I want on camera. So he didn't show up on that camera. And then you go to another spot and then you're like, oh, well, they didn't show up in there, so I'm not going to go there. I got to go here because there is deer showing up here. And then you go back to collect all of your cameras, and 40 yards from your camera, bro, the place is absolutely torn up. And you're like, what did I just do? Like, I just blew my entire season on something, and you find sheds 60, 75 yards away from where you were, and you're like, dude, those deer been here this whole time, and they've been on there, and they're feeding. You know, like, I've had a camera pointing one way, and they're feeding 30 yards off of it, dude, and the place is torn up.
It doesn't tell everything.
You're like, what did I just do, man? And I think it honestly adds a disadvantage to you, man, because you try and base your season on a trail camera, which is a problem.
Well, I think it's definitely a disadvantage to the guys that have the instinct. If you have the instinct for I should be here, this is, you know, the acorns are dropping here, the cornfield is cut here, the wind is good for here, but but you got, like you said, I got a buck over here. So I'm not going to go where my instinct is telling me to go. I'm going to go here because the camera's telling me to. In my experience, I make that mistake constantly. But like the guys that don't have that instinct saying, listen, this is natural, like this is where it should be, but all you know is the camera, then it's not really a disadvantage because you don't know any different.
Right. What do you do early season? Because you do a lot of real early season, like velvet hunting.
Yes.
Like, what do you do? Do you run a lot of cameras to see what's going on, or is it just
I run cameras year round.
just to know what's
365
going
I run
on?
cameras. Yep. Because, and the thing is, where the places I hunt, it's a lot of farm, obviously, especially with the nuisance permits. But it's small parcels. So the deer, there's more fields than woods. So that can only hold, I have all the food in the world, but I don't have all the bedroom in the world. You know what I mean? So deer don't stay with me. So that's why I run cameras all the time, because I'm always trying to figure out the patterns, when they're moving, how they're moving, trying to figure out whatever I can, because it's never the same. Like me trying to pattern a deer is almost impossible because they don't just live on me. They live on my property and 5 other ones on the side of me. You know what I mean? So that's why dude, the amount of money I spend in batteries a year is a little ridiculous. But that's how I use them. I use them just to regulate how and when they're moving.
Have you ever put a camera on a field on what do they call it? Plot watcher or something like that? Where it takes like a time lapse on a field. Have you ever tried that? I personally haven't.
I have not, and that's a little bit above my pay grade with technology.
Yeah, well, same me. I was kind of hoping that you had a little insight because I've always wanted to do it. I think it's cool, but I've never done it.
So what would you do? Just put a GoPro on?
No, you do it with a trail camera. Usually you put it kind of high where you can like kind of see the whole field, and it like periodically takes a picture like every so many minutes or seconds, and then it almost looks like a time-lapse video, so you can like see the deer come out into the field throughout the entire day or night. So it doesn't have to get tripped. They don't have to be in the infrared to trip and take a picture. It just automatically takes a picture of the entire field.
Oh.
I should do that.
It would be cool. It would be cool. Let's do it. Let's try it. We got to do it.
I think that would be really cool because now you're getting the intel, because then you're not worried about that thing actually tripping it.
Yeah.
And if he walked by it, didn't walk by it, what you missed, what you didn't miss.
The deer they could be 100 yards away over in the other corner of the field.
And now you know that they're coming out over there.
And then like it'll take say it takes a picture a minute later, and then you see them like working their way across the field.
That's actually pretty cool. Then you could definitely gain
a lot of it. Let's do it. Done deal. Let's do it.
That's nuts, dude. So when you're obviously in the early season when you're hunting, and obviously like a lot of people don't get to hunt like that. Like, is there certain thing are they very like you can like count on a dime that they're gonna be there constantly all the time? Like they're very like religious on what they do. Patternable. There you go. Thank you. I can't talk.
Let me how to phrase this. They're definitely, no question about it, more patternable early season. Mm-hmm. Food is king, and it's not bucks. I shouldn't say it's not bucks and does, because in my experience, even in the summertime, there's bachelor groups. It's not like, not just even in the summer. Obviously, in the summertime, there's bachelor groups, but like when it's early season, food is food. So even though they're in the bachelor groups and the does over here and the bucks bed differently, like they're gonna meet in the field no matter what. You know what I mean? So it's definitely an easier animal to pattern in this early season, but hunting them is different. It's hard for me to explain. I love it and I hate it at the same time, because deer hunting when it's not cold out is weird for us in New England. You know what I mean? Yeah. It feels uncomfortable. Like sweating in a tree stand is very strange, or sitting on the ground. It's very weird. But the deer act differently. It's like I love it because I get a whole different atmosphere of how the deer react and how they exist compared to October, November. As soon as the crops change, it's the deer mentality changes immediately. Whether it's February, March, and the rye is coming up from the cover crop, to the middle of summer and like the squash and the potatoes and the pumpkins are coming up, or October first, and the cornfields are starting to get cut for the cow field and the cow feed. Each season, as far as food goes, the deer are different, and it's almost enjoyable because I have the advantage, and I'm lucky enough to be able to experience more season than just October 1st or whatever, whenever it normally opens. But they are definitely more patternable. But now it's not just a buck coming out. There's 7 that come out. You know what I mean? So like the bachelor groups together, if I'm hunting, I'm trying to fill a crop damage tag. The farmer calls me, hey man, they're tearing up my field, and this field over here on this side of the farm. All right, so I try to go make a play on it, and it's not just a couple of does and then a big buck follows them. There's 6 does come out because that's a hot food source at the time. Because everything's timing with whether the corn shoots are a certain length or the potatoes start to bud. They love the flowers on the potato plants. So like this strict timing. By the time those bud and go past whatever the nutrient value they have, it's boom, it's hit or miss. So you can go sit on a stand and now I have 15 deer looking at me or potentially being downwind instead of just one. It's not just shooting fish in a barrel because like all that is different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And the reason why I ask this, right, like, and where, and where it can be used is guys that are hunting early season. And what I'm trying to say is, and what I was trying to get out of you is that they are patternable. And to chase a big buck early season, the beginning of September, we start September 15th. And you can get on a deer that is really patternable in the early season, because there's a lot of guys that probably are listening to this podcast right now and they don't think about deer hunting until the end of October, beginning of November. But I think that a lot of them, and why we archery hunt, is being able to get out there a little bit early. So why I was asking that is like, can you find yourself getting on a big buck in the beginning of September and making that deer patternable to put it into play where you could capitalize on it in the early September months? You know what I'm saying? Like
100%, definitely. The food sources then, and the deer's travel routes are 100% easier to figure out that time of year. No question about it.
And what would
that's
And what would you use to try and figure out to make them patternable?
So, even though I run cameras 365, that time of year, the cameras, as helpful as a tool they are, they're almost even more so, not necessarily a distraction, but they lie a lot that time of year because there's so much more vegetation. There's so much more food around. The deer don't just take the same run out of the woods. They don't just, you know what I mean? But now, don't forget, now it gets dark at 8:30 and not 4:30. Mm-hmm. So after work, I load my wife and kid up. Mm-hmm. We go for a ride, and I'm using, I scout physically. I go and I see, what corner of the field is getting hit, which corner of the field they're coming out on right today, And now that's not going to last long because you get 12, 15 deer in one corner of the field. That corner is not going to last for more than a couple of days before they move on, into another section. They eat their way out. But I mean, obviously trail cameras, but it's a lot of boots on the ground. Physically
watching and glassing and paying attention to what's going on.
Dude, in the summertime, I'll take my daughter fishing, dude. I'll pick up my girl up from after work. We'll go fishing for a little bit. And then when it hits 7:00, we jump in the truck. We'll have dinner. We'll jump in the truck. We go for a ride. Every single day.
Yeah, same.
Every night. That's what we do. And we just put eyes on and see what the deer are doing, how they're doing it. And that's it.
So what made you successful to shoot your big velvet deer this year?
I have history with that deer. So, I've had the crop damage from it here for years now, and I still have never been able to kill that deer because he's on me one day, the next day he's not. He's deer that caliber they're definitely smart, even in the summer. But I think just the 3-4 years of chasing him, I was finally able to set up before. I made the right call at the right time, basically. Call it luck or whatnot, but I've put more and more pieces of the puzzle together, and I knew, all right, listen, the crop, and it depends on which way the crop's are planted because they rotate them every year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So the stars kind of aligned where, the cornfield was planted in the right field, the potato field was in the right spot. So I was able to get myself in position to where they come out this time of year. And that was no camera. That was no cameras. I didn't have a cell camera there. I had one of these. I had a wild game and a Browning, actually. So it wasn't a cell phone camera. I had to physically check it. But I would, on my drives, I'd be like, all right, they're starting to hit this area. They're starting to hit this area. And I just finally made the move at the right time.
So take us through it, man. Let's hear about it.
Okay. So I've been chasing this deer for a couple of years now, several years.
Did he have a name?
So
do you name deer?
Yes, but the problem is the deer are the same couple bucks are so the gene pool is so similar.
Yeah.
It's like impossible to figure out, at least for me, like exactly the differences, because it's been, like I said, this deer name was Fleek, and there was Fleek Jr., there was Fish Hook, there was, and it's because I called him Fleek, and Louis helped me name him because he had awesome brow tines, so fleeky eyebrows. You know what I mean? That's how he got his name. But it's been so. By the time I found this deer or realized he was a regular in my areas, he was already mature. So from then till now, that deer could have been long dead, and this is one of his offspring. Just going by, the pictures I have on my phone and trail cameras, it's really tough to say. I've spent hours and hours trying to figure it out, so I cannot confirm that it's the same deer, but I hope so. One day we'll have to put our heads together and actually figure it out. But whether it was him or not, it was an absolute stud. So I've been watching him. I checked my cameras a couple of times. I realized that the deer were destroying this field. The farmers called me, the whole nine. And like I said, these are all farms next to each other. So it's not just my property. They could feed through my farm tonight, and the next day they'll be hitting the neighbor's property because he's got the same thing planted, and they're just doing their circle. And it's just a matter of what day that I'm available to be there when they show up, So I was watching this deer, long story short, I'm rambling, but I've been watching this deer for a while. It's September now, and the farmer's calling me, dude, they're destroying the field. So we gotta go over there because it's, as much as it's a blessing to have this permit, it's also, I have to fill the tags or, I'm going to lose it, so it's not like I can just be, lackadaisical about it. I have to make something happen. It just so happens
as much as you want to manage for big deer and pass big deer, your job there is to actually kill deer. So you can't be too selective. Yeah.
Correct. So, I have to pick it. I can pick and choose when I'm being selective, but at the end of the day, I still have to kill deer.
Right.
It just, so I'd filled a couple tags for him. So now I'm like, all right, I bought myself a couple of days, and my grandfather are also on the permit too. So, we all killed a few deer. We filled some tags. Now we're waiting for the state to send us more tags. So we all down to a couple, I had 2 tags left. So, they give us 15 tags. We all take 5 apiece. When we fill them, they send us 5 each more, So I already filled 2 or 3 tags. I have 2 tags left. So now the pressure's off a little bit. I'm like, all right, I'm watching this deer. I patted him. I had him at 30 yards 3 days prior. I saw them out in the field. I made a stalk. I was cutting through the cornfield. The wind swirled a little bit. This deer's coming at me. I started blowing in my hand. I started stomping. The wind was just off, and he couldn't really tell what it was. Dude, this buck came from 80 to 30 on a string. And I'm holding my bow, dude, watching this giant velvet buck walking at me. I came to full draw when he got to 30 yards. And this is when, the same moment in my hunting career, that I realized I needed to get rid of my trigger release and go to a palm release, a thumb release, and I need to get rid of my single pin. Because as this deer is walking at me, I'm having to relax my bow, unclip my release, change my yardage, reclip. So as he's coming in, dude, he's coming at me. He's not deciding to walk broadside. It's not a TV. It's not a movie. You know what I mean? So he was literally coming at me, trying to figure out what I was as I'm stomping. So I was standing in the field and I'm stomping and blowing at him. And because he just didn't know what it was. The wind was just off. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And again, I've been watching him for a while. So like my heart's beating through my chest because I'm like, dude, is this that deer that I've been chasing for years? You know what I mean? I finally caught up to him in the right time. He gets to 32 yards. I'm at full draw, and there's a corn stalk in the way of his chest. He was coming at me quarter two. I'm like, I practice year round, so like I'm very confident. So at 30 yards with a clear shot, dude, a buck of a lifetime. I don't know what I would have done. I didn't take the shot. I don't know what I would have done had I actually had a clear opportunity. But he was facing me at 30 yards, and I was at full draw, and there was a corn stalk right down his chest. And I was like, oh. So I sat there and I relaxed. And I stood there, and he started stamping a little bit, and he's flaring his nostrils. And dude, at 30 yards, dude, and this, it's September, like the sun's just starting to set. Like, dude, it was picture perfect. It was beautiful, dude. I'm shaking, dude. And if I didn't have a clear shot, dude, I had to let down. He turned and started going away. Yeah, I had him again at 47 as I blew again, and he stopped and looked back. But then I was already shaking so bad, I just chalked it up as a loss. I was like, all right. So I knew he was there. I knew he was frequent in the field. Did I think I was going to get another chance at him? Absolutely not. Like a deer like that, I don't know his exact age. Like, again, I don't know if it was the deer I've been chasing or not, but I know he was mature. But to have an encounter like that with a mature buck, I didn't think I was going to be able to get another one. So I waited until the wind was right. It was like Saturday afternoon or Friday afternoon. I was either out early or whatever. And I'm talking to Louis, and I was like, dude, should I make a move? He's like, absolutely, go for it. Do it. I was like, dude, I don't want to booger this deer. Like, especially there's food everywhere. So like, if I really screw this up, he's not going to come back. Long story short, I set up a makeshift ground blind in the bushes because like, I don't have a tree stand in this corner of the field. I don't have nothing set up. And I don't want to put one up because I think he's bedding very close to where I'm going to have an opportunity to shoot him. I go sit on the ground. I'm on my knees. I'm sitting sideways with my bow. Like I got my camera and my tripod set up. I have bushes all around me. It gets to like the time I'm expecting him to come out into the field. I don't see nothing. I'm like, shit. I encroached too much in his bedroom. I ruined it. I'm texting Louis. I'm like, dude, maybe I should go and stalk through the field, see if I see him where I saw him the other day. He's like, go ahead, do it. And I'm telling myself, I'm like, yo, my grandfather would yell at me. Don't sit still. Be patient. Be patient. Be patient. Dude, I'm on the ground like that. My knees were killing me. I was like, all right, fine. I'm going to do it. So I get up. I check around the field. I walk the edge. I check to see if I saw them where they were the other day to get into bow range. Nothing. I was like, well, now I did it. You know what I mean? I risked it for the biscuit, and I screwed it up. There was no deer on the other side of the field either. I head back to get my tripod. So now I left my camera gear on the ground to go stalk I had the GoPro on my bow to go stalk this field. Deer weren't there either. I get back to where my ground blind setup was. There's 7 deer walking out of the woods. I step just enough into the cornfield. I have corn stalks in front of me. There's 3 bucks. There's 4. There's a couple of does come out. It's just like the gates opened and the deer started walking out. There was a nice buck. I can't remember if it was an 8 or a 9, whatever it was. And he's walking at me. I mean, 6 feet. I come to full draw. I throw my pin to 20. I come to full draw. This buck's literally at 6 or 8 feet. And he's walking at me still, like it was going to be point blank. So now my heart's racing. Now, if I was sitting there, I would have had a perfectly broadside shot at like 11 yards. It would have been beautiful. This deer is at me 8 yards away, 6 yards away. I'm coming to full draw. Here he comes. All of a sudden, I just out of the corner of my eye, I see that giant velvet buck step out. I relax. I range. He's at 30, 37. I'm like, man. Mind you, I have this buck still at 6 yards, and all I have in front of me is a roll of corn. So, and he's like this. This buck is freaking out, right? He's turning his head. He's like, what the hell? And that giant is not stopping. I range him. Last range I had was 42, and he wouldn't stop. I'm whistling. I slap it to 45. And I come to full draw. This buck is literally stamping, and I can smell his breath. He's so close. And I come to full draw. I'm like, I whistle, and he just pauses enough, and I send it. And I got him right under the shoulder, both shoulders, both lungs. I got his aorta. He didn't make it out of the field. It was absolute chaos because the deer herd exploded. There was tails everywhere. I was losing my mind. Dude. The giant buck that I've been chasing for possibly years. I sent an arrow, dude. I'm losing my mind because I'm like, I couldn't tell if I hit him or not. I couldn't see my lighted knock. I didn't know what happened. There was tails everywhere. I call Louie. I'm like, you asshole. I'm like, I should have stayed put. I should have stayed there. I'm losing my mind, dude. I'm like sweating, dude. My heart's pumping. I'm losing it. And I'm like, dude, I should have stayed still. I would have had him broadside the whole nine. He said, dude, go check the arrow. Go check the arrow. Go check the arrow. And I'm on the phone with him. I can't find the arrow. I'm like, dude, I missed. I don't see blood anywhere. I was like, dude, I hope I didn't wound this deer because now I can't find the arrow. So my heart's in my chest. I keep walking the direction I think he went. 40 yards away, I see him piled up in the field. Dude, I lost it. And I was on the phone with him at the same time. So like he heard my reaction and everything. It was pretty cool experience.
That's epic, dude. That's absolutely epic. From the ground.
Yeah.
Oh.
Had I been where I was sitting, I actually don't know, looking back now, if I could have made it happen because those other deer would have been on top of me. So I was mad then because I was stalking and walking instead of being patient. But looking at the situation now, had that buck that came to 6 yards, he would have literally stepped on me if I was in my little ground blind. So it probably all worked out for the best, and I made a perfectly lethal shot and 47 yards with the bow, you know what I mean, on this giant buck. So it worked out and it was a cool story. It was a wild hunt, though. Wild.
That's nuts. Do you find that you hunt a lot from the ground?
Yes.
You enjoy the ground?
If I had a choice, I would never be in a tree.
Really?
It's being on the ground on eye level is so much more challenging and so much more in with them than being 15 feet high.
Really? You like it that much better?
Dude, it is not even a question, not even a debate. For me, personally, being in a tree is another feeling alone. But, dude, when they step out and they're feeding and you can hear them crunching and you can see the spit coming out of their mouth and them licking their nose and you can see if they're in bow range on the ground compared to in bow range and you're 15 feet high, it's just the adrenaline rush is like no other. It really is. And your shot angle is so much better because you're on the ground.
See, that's crazy. So I used to hunt a ton from the ground, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I used to hunt on the ground blinds constantly and absolutely loved it. And then I got into the whole mobile saddle hunting, and I'm like, dude, I'll never hunt on the ground again. But then there's so many situations where I'm like, oh, I wish I was on the ground. Like hunting from the ground.
Me and Seth actually had this conversation 2 weeks ago. I've got a couple spots where I have to go to the ground.
Right.
Like I don't have an option to hunt out of a tree, and it kind of screwed me this year. So when I found out Seth was a big ground hunter, we had a pretty in-depth conversation about what I need to do next year because it's just another tool for the tool bag.
It really is. I mean, you see a lot of guys that hunt at different outfitters and they hunt on the ground. They hunt in ground blinds. I mean, there's some outfitters that don't even allow people to hunt in the tree. They have to hunt on the ground. Bear camp is one of those things that they hunt on the ground a ton.
Yep. There's a lot of, it definitely adds a big bit of challenge to it, but there's definitely a lot of advantages to be on the ground too.
Now, do you think... Go ahead. Finish that thought. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, well, one thing about if you're in an actual blind, not like a brush blind, you have a lot more movement that's concealed. You can move around.
That's probably why I used to shoot a lot more deer. No.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. Yeah, with an actual pop-up blind, do you think you can get away with more or less?
More as far as movement. Well, you move around when there's a deer at 12 yards in the ground blind or not, they're gonna bust you because you can't even breathe without them hearing you. When you're that low, you have no protection. But if you have a little bit, if the wind's right, and in a perfect scenario, you can move from the chest down. You can move all you want, and they're not gonna see you. So that's definitely an advantage. You know what I mean? But if they're at 10, 12 yards, it doesn't matter what you do, you're kind of screwed,
Right.
But you can't, like when I hunt with my little one, the ground blind's perfect because I can put her butt on the ground with a coloring book, and it doesn't matter what she's doing out there, she can't be seen. Her movement's not my problem. You know what I mean?
Probably good to bring the wife too.
Yeah, right? You don't have to worry about it. They get to understand what's going on in the woods, and then your concealment is so much more that way.
Absolutely.
It's just the way that it goes.
As far as the wind, too, if you're in a pop-up blind, if you keep all the windows closed besides your shooting window, I think it does give you a bit of an advantage. I do. I think
in a win scenario.
whether it's how much of an advantage, that's not. I'm not a scientist, but I think it does give you that extra split second because you don't have you're contained in that blind.
Right.
I feel like the Onyx, or not the Onyx, the ozone machines.
Those Onyx.
I'm not a big ozone machine guy at all. The ones in the tree, like when you're in the tree stand, you have the ozone machine above your head. I think that's just ridiculous. But I do feel like maybe in a ground blind where it could really pay off because you're recycling that same air.
I will not use one on the ground blind. I completely disagree.
I won't use one. I won't use one at all. So, but
maybe it's just mine.
Yeah,
I can hear mine.
Yeah.
I can hear it running.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they all are like that.
So I won't bring it in the ground blind because it could just be me. I've never been busted because of it, but it just freaks me out that it's making noise.
Right.
And, like you don't have that luxury on the ground. You know what I mean?
It's dry noise.
Whereas if I'm 15 feet up, I have that, and that thing's running. It's a totally different ballgame.
It's like a bumblebee.
If they're at 12 yards, right.
Yeah,
but
right.
But as far as circulating the air, it would be way more effective in a ground blind. As far as it's functioning,
a lot of those guys do run those things in ground blinds. I mean, they make special stands and stuff for them. I don't know, man. I kind of miss hunting on the ground, to be honest. Like, once you go into a tree stand, you just, like, there's a lot of advantages in putting yourself in different places and stuff. But when you, like yourself, hunting farmland, like, how many trees is there that are close enough to the ag? You know, like, that's
exactly.
one of the... So now you're making your shot that would be 20 from the ground is now 35 because you're set back an extra 10, 15 yards from the field edge where them deer are coming out, dude, because they don't run the edge of the field. You know what I'm saying? I mean, where they come out, they come out.
Absolutely.
So it definitely makes things a lot tougher.
I think we were talking about it earlier before we hit record. I think if I kill Chuck this year, early season, it'll end up being from a ground blind.
You think so? Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Practice you sitting down a lot this summer.
Yeah, but like you said, if you get those brushy fence rows and stuff like that, sometimes there's no tree where you need to be where they come out into the field.
Well, when you go to set your ground blind, like, do you set it like a week before, 2 weeks before, a day before? Like, is there one thing that, like,
ideally,
you find?
The longer before, the better.
Okay.
The closer you are setting it up, as far as me personally, the closer I am to setting it up and hunting it, determines how much I have to brush it in and how, like, the extent I have to go to conceal this thing to make it as natural as possible. Because don't forget, like, these deer know. Just like you walking around your house, you know where every stool is, where every chair is. You throw a blind in there, the deer are going to pick it up. No question about it. Whether they freak out and run away or whether they just start stamping and quit, it changes everything.
Yeah.
So if I can put it up, like the blinds that I set up yearly, every year I put a blind in the same spot, as soon as turkey's over, or I might even set them up and use them for turkey, and now they're ready for crop damage or deer season. But as soon as the winter's over, those blinds go up. And they get brushed in, and they're there for the rest of the year.
And you're not risking it for the biscuit. You're not risking it for the biscuit.
Right.
What about?
I love that he said that, the risking for a biscuit.
How about because again, I'm completely naive with the ground blind. I don't know anything about them. Windows open or closed? Do you close them up when you're not hunting and then open when you show up, or like if you know this window is going to be open when you hunt, do you leave it open all the time?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. So, and it depends. If this is going to be my main shooting window, or these front three, I leave them half open. I might close it a little bit, you know what I mean? But I leave it open because if it's closed and it's open,
right?
If you stand 40 feet away and look at that blind with the windows up, and then you open the windows and look at it, you can see a giant black hole there.
Right.
Granted, I know their vision isn't the same as ours, but it's different. So I take all precautions and I leave it set up how I'm going to hunt it. I will open like the back window though when I'm not in there, just enough because when the wind hits it, if you don't have that exit for the wind, it'll beat it out of the blind.
Right.
Speaking.
I rake the ground.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, you rake the ground.
Oh, I'll do that. I cut the brush. I rake the ground with a metal rake. I have just the head of a rake. I rake the ground. I have a rug sometimes. I'll bring a rug in. That way my feet don't make noise on the roots, like the whole nine.
So you go above and beyond when you're doing it. You set them and prep them as if you were setting and prepping a stand.
Yes. Almost honestly, you have to take more. In my mind, I have to take more care on a ground blind because you don't have the ability to be 15 feet up, and you're cheating their eyes a little bit. You know what I mean? They don't have to look up to see you because you're ground level.
Yeah, that's wild. That's nuts. But it's the way that it should be. Honestly, I think it's a lot of really good information. Honestly, for guys, because we don't really talk a lot about it. We all talk mobile, and being in a saddle. And I mean, you saddle hunt too, and like using all the tools of the trade. But like ground blind hunting is not something that's always talked about, anyways. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's one of those things that's not talked about.
Yeah. It's definitely not the sexiest thing to do out there in the industry right now. That's for sure.
No.
Why is that?
It's just, I don't know.
Because it's not an e-bike?
It's not
an e-bike on public?
That's so 5-6 years ago.
It's not a saddle. It's not a Rambo bike. Yeah.
That was like 5 or 6 years ago fad, right?
I think so.
But it works.
Now it's either
Yeah.
if you're not in a redneck blind and you're not in a saddle, you're not even hunting.
Right. I agree.
What does that even? I get so upset about that stuff, like that industry standard bullshit. Like, we have a lot of that in the fishing industry is the same way. Like, if you're not in the fleet industry standard, you're shunned out. But bro, I'm shooting 10 deer a year. What do you mean I'm not in the industry standard? Like, what do you mean, bro? Like, how does that even make sense to me? You want to hear something wild? So Connecticut's in the process of passing. They're getting rid of Blaze Orange and Blaze Yellow, Blaze Pink, and now we have to wear Blaze Blue.
Is that passed?
No, it didn't pass, but they're in the process of trying to pass
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
Blaze Blue?
Yes, because it's more fair chase. Because deer can see blue.
Because deer can see blue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're lying to me right now.
I swear to God, dude. Connecticut is trying to pass it right now.
You know what the real reason is, though, right?
What's that?
Because Democrats are blue.
Oh. No, but so the Blaze Blue it's a fair chase thing, so that because deer's eyes in their vision they can see blue.
Is it navy or baby?
No. It's Blaze. It's literally written Blaze Blue.
Yeah, but what is Blaze Blue?
I don't know what Blaze Blue is, but that's what the law is writing, Blaze Blue, because it's more fair chase.
I gotta Google this. What is a Blaze Blue?
Who sells Blaze Blue?
I don't even know what a Blaze Blue is.
I don't even know, but you know what? I'm gonna tell you this much right now, dude. I might, if that's the case, I'm gonna come out with a Blaze Blue hunting line in that case, because like the vest, right? I'm gonna actually patent a Blaze Blue thing because everybody in the state's gonna have to buy them, and if they can get them through me and I make the most badass Blaze Blue.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that on the podcast. Someone's gonna copy you.
That's okay.
Yeah, you should cut that out.
No, I don't really care.
Blaze Blue. I think you're pulling my leg.
No, I swear, bro. That's literally one of the laws that they're trying to pass here right now. Is the Blaze Blue law? It's wild. Would you wear Blaze Blue?
Doesn't even exist on
No.
Google. I'm Googling it now.
Is it just gun season?
I don't know. It doesn't say. It just says deer hunting. Instead of whatever application you would have to use, Blaze Orange or Blaze Pink, you have to wear Blaze Blue.
Did we fact check this?
Yeah, dude. Somebody sent it to me, bro. It was the actual Connecticut. Like,
are you sure?
Yeah, dude. I swear on my life. It's wild.
I'll tell you what. That would make me. I would feel so strongly about that. I wouldn't hunt that season. I would go out of state.
Well, the thing is that we could. So during bow hunting and bow hunting only areas, we don't have to wear orange anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But like if you're gun hunting, you'd have to wear Blaze. And it's just wild to me that like they would like, why are we doing this? Like it's out of control, which it would probably never pass, I don't think. But if it did, it'd be kind of crazy. I don't know.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? They just.
Yeah, well, that's just a lot of these states.
Yeah, man, I want to try my luck in Connecticut. Me and Louie have been talking about going to public land for a while in Connecticut. I'm going to try it.
You should. It's one of those, public land is, it's like every other public land anywhere else. Like, it's highly pressured and it kind of does its thing, but like, you can find big deer in any public, I think, if you put in the amount of time and effort that you want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really matter. Yep. It doesn't matter. Well, man, I got
Like
one last question for you, and you probably know what it is. But I don't think did we do that on the group?
No,
one?
you did. What's your goals for 2023?
2023. What's your goals? Well, that's not the question I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask you, Seth, what drives you outdoors?
Ooh, what drives me outdoors? I wish I had time to prepare for this. I would have had a nice sentiment ready.
Yeah, but that's not that fun.
Drives me outdoors. So the world drives me outdoors. No matter how much noise, no matter how much bullshit has happened in the world, dude, the outdoors is the outdoors, man. You get what you give, and that's no matter how loud things could be in the back of your head, man. Like I post on Instagram today, that picture of the sunlight coming in through those trees and the snow on the ground, dude. Like you get those moments as an outdoorsman. Like everybody knows what I'm talking about. Like there's moments whether you're in a tree stand, on a boat, holding a fishing pole, you get out there and you remember why you're doing it. Like you remember, like everything seems to make sense when you're outdoors, and that's why I do it.
No, it's so perfect though. It really is. It's funny is that right with this whole question of what drives you outdoors, everybody kind of has the same exact answer, but they just use different words every single time. Like, and the thing is, like, I always thought about this. Like, I was like, oh, you know what? We might have to get rid of what drives you outdoors. But I think that's stupid to get rid of it because it's really good to hear a lot of people's answers, like what they actually think. But like I said, everyone thinks the same thing, but in different words, in their own words. Mm-hmm. They think the same exact thing. Like everybody does it because the passion, because the world. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one of those things that it makes it freaking amazing.
Yeah. I think that's pretty cool. Everybody's different interpretation of it.
Yeah, it truly, honestly is, man. I'm honestly you know what? Honestly, I'm looking forward to this season because like we all talk about this all the time and like, you know, and how important it is for us now having a big team that we have and how much fun that we've actually had. Like it kind of like sparked a little fire in my ass, like because we have like a really good group of guys to like, we constantly talk all the time. We have the same beliefs. We do the same things and everybody's like super gung ho to get this season going.
I love it. Even me and Seth, it's just another person to bounce ideas off of. So like me and Seth have already been like sharing like little e-scouting and stuff together. And like one particular spot that Seth hunts, he shows me a screenshot of the spot and I was like, what's up with this little spot over here? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I usually hunt here. And I'm like, this one spot jumps out to me, and this is the spot that he looks at. So we start talking like, well, why do you hunt there? Why would you hunt there? And I'm like, dude, this is what I see. And he's like, I might have to look into that. You know what I mean? And it's just getting that different perspective and that different set of eyes to look at a property that I've never stepped foot in it, but this one particular spot catches my eye, and I know nothing about the property.
Right.
You know? It's just cool to get new guys and new faces to look at stuff.
Absolutely. Compare everybody's brains.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing, man. You're always learning. That's another thing about you'll never just figure it out and have the answers. Every deer is going to be different, and every deer is going to give you a lesson.
It really honestly will. It really honestly will. Well, man, we really appreciate you jumping on. Oh, go ahead.
Seth, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on social, especially like, what is it, your Instagram handle and stuff like that?
At Seth_Hunts_365 is my Instagram. My Facebook's not that active, so that's definitely the best place to find me. And, of course, the Outdoor Drive.
Love it.
That's right, man. So what we've been doing, if you guys get on over to the Outdoor Drive Instagram, we've been doing these collabs. But the only person that sucks at it is Tyler. Tyler hasn't been getting on the collabs because his phone is his phone. But Seth is on there. His little daughter has her own little call. She doing all of her own little reels and everything on there. So you guys can find him over there. And for everybody else, man, Seth, thank you for jumping on. And for everybody else,
My pleasure.
thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.